Using marketing for social good is what this conference is all about. But many people believe that marketing principles can do the job alone, and that belief can lead to unintended consequences. It's why telling people not to litter can increase littering. It's why kids in schools with anti-bullying programs are more likely to get bullied. It's why telling kids to say no to drugs can make them more likely to try. And why anti-bias initiatives can amplify and activate biases. My name is Joni Avram, and I'm a behavioral scientist and social marketer from Calgary, Alberta. I've used a behavioral approach to social marketing for the last 10 years, and in these 10 minutes, I'm going to share what I know. People have two types of thinking systems. One is fast and reflexive, and the other is slow and reflective. Social marketers tend to talk to the slow thinking mind and help it weigh the pros and cons of certain behaviors. This approach emphasizes facts and information. It often focuses on telling people what not to do. It influences how we talk about food waste and smoking and diabetes and dementia. And it's based on the widespread belief that education and awareness is the key to change. But that belief can lead to unintended consequences. One famous story involves the officials at the Arizona Petrified Forest who noticed that tons of fossils were going missing every year at their park. So they put up signs letting visitors know that taking home wooden souvenirs was common practice. Rather than stop pilfering, these signs multiplied it by as much as 6 times. Because we learn by watching others, the more we raise awareness of certain behaviors and the more we make people consciously aware of certain behaviors, the more likely those behaviors are to be repeated. And this response isn't conscious, it's unconscious, and it's driven by the reflexive mind. When we aren't sure how to behave, we look around for social cues. One cue we watch for is the behavior of others. Giving people the wrong cues can lead to undesirable behavior. In the case of the Petrified Forest, raising awareness about the problem of pilfering had the unexpected effect of normalizing it and perhaps also triggering a fear of missing out. Just as giving the wrong cues can lead to undesirable behavior, giving the right cues can lead to desirable behavior. Rather than analyze, think, change, we tend to feel change. And so the more we can influence what people see and feel by speaking first to the reflexive mind, the more likely we are to influence change for good. The key is to offer the right cues. And the first important cue has to do with social norms. When the behavior is desirable, publicize it. And when it's not, don't. When people wanted to influence drinking and driving behavior in America in the 1980s, they didn't talk about the prevalence of drinking and driving. Instead, they introduced the Designated Driver campaign. The goal was to normalize the behavior of handing over your keys to a designated driver if you had been drinking. Normalizing this behavior reduced drinking and driving deaths by 25% within 4 years. In the same vein, rather than telling distracted drivers just to put your phone down, like the image on the left, showing them what to do instead, keeping their phones out of reach, like the image on the right, can have a better effect. Showing what to do makes the path forward easier to follow and makes the follow-on behavior more automatic. Using the right role models can influence how messages are received and acted upon. And that's because we are more likely to follow people who are like us. This campaign to prevent family violence in Edmonton, Alberta, used relatable role models speaking the words survivors said they most needed to hear. This campaign increased helping intention and public confidence simply by modeling the behavior we wanted people to follow. People like to think well of themselves, so the more we can affirm people as good people getting better rather than bad people who need fixing, the more successful we can be. In this campaign to prevent sexual harassment at work, we didn't talk about the prevalence of sexual harassment. We celebrated people who were creating safe and trusted workplace cultures. People who were drawing the line, people who were treating each other with respect. In these work cultures, workplace sexual harassment is less likely to happen. So we wanted to normalize the positive behavior and set these folks up as positive role models. Rather than call people out, we call them up to better behavior that benefits everyone. People tend to live up to the expectations that we have of them. So when we call people up and we frame them as potential heroes rather than potential villains, people are more likely to behave in more positive ways. This campaign motivated participants to be more proactive in building culture and more confident in responding to issues of sexual harassment. It also had a positive impact on help seeking. Using positive and uplifting emotions in social change communication can make all the difference. In this campaign about sexual assault response, we didn't tell people to start by believing, like this campaign on the left. Instead, we showed them what believing looks like by telling emotional, short stories about love and loyalty in the face of a disclosure. Rather than speak to the head, we spoke to the heart. And the campaign produced a significant change in public response to survivors. Over year polling suggested that the number of people who would give a positive response went from 21% to up to 72% within 4 years. And the number who would use the term "I believe you" specifically grew from less than 1% to 21%. We also saw a substantial increase in help seeking and reporting. This campaign worked because it was non-threatening. Now, positive emotions actually build the emotional, social, and cognitive skills of the people that we're trying to help change. And that's why positive emotions are so important. When we see people behaving virtuously toward others, we naturally want to be equally good, loving, and kind. And this response is automatic and effortless. So rather than focusing on vices, focusing on virtues can create an automatic upward spiral of good that makes organizations and whole communities better. Speaking to the automatic mind can make change easier because no cognitive work is needed. This approach is important because it can avoid unintended consequences and lead to better outcomes that improve society and improve trust for those of us who do this work. And when it comes to social change, the public is becoming more cynical. Governments are seen as neither competent nor ethical, and NGOs are seen as ethical but only marginally competent. And getting better at this work is critical because the public will follow and reward the people who make positive change happen. So thank you for listening. Get in touch for more.